everyone, welcome back to another video about the One Piece card game. Today, this is going up on Patreon early, but you will be seeing this publicly sort of coming up to the Set 5 launch, probably around the time Set 5 is coming out. So obviously, if you want stuff like this early, maybe you can make some purchasing decisions based on it, not financial advice, then you should check out my Patreon, which is linked in the description. It's like a $5 a month, and I think it's worth it. Today, I'm going to be ranking every single leader going into the OP05 metagame. Obviously, at the time of this recording, it's not finished in Japan, but I think we've got a pretty good understanding of what the good decks are, and I think there is definitely room to develop in our format. But I also think that this is going to be very, very relevant for the time period we're at now. Is going to be very relevant for the finals events, which take place in early January, about a month into the format. So let's go ahead and get started. And we begin with Blue Doffy, and I think Blue Doffy is a solid. I think it's underrated. I think it's a solid B tier, but I just think that the top decks don't really care what this deck is doing. I think it's good. I think it's totally fine, but yeah, I just think it doesn't really interact well into the best decks in the format. Blue Bubble Kaido, I think it's solid C tier, it's fine. It gets some really, really good new tools, but I just don't think any of them are enough to push it over the edge into like being that good. I suppose I should explain here, right? Like, so here, here's S+. What I'm gonna say is like this is actively, like, in my opinion, best deck in format. And I'm going to leave it to just one thing. BDIF. I'm just going to leave it to one thing. For A, I'm going to say that this is like, if you like minimum like event, like take this to a championship. All right. If you do not take this to a championship, you are doing yourself a disservice, I would say. It's very annoying, that whatever. Then C tier, B tier is going to be like rogue, but like playable. And C is just going to be like locals. D is bad, and F is just don't. And there's a few of each. So okay, okay. Let's not beat around the bush, right? Like BDIF. Let's just put them where they belong. Law, and where is he? Sakabozo. These are unequivocally the best decks in the format, in my opinion. I don't even think it's close. I think, one obviously very hard counters the other. Like, Law gets very countered by Sakazuki, especially the builds that are now appearing in Japan, but Law is insane, as it always is. And if they did hit Sakazuki, which I've seen some discussion of, then Law just becomes the best deck in the format. So as someone who owns both, who will own both, obviously I'm fine, I don't really mind either way. But honestly, yeah, I think these are your best decks in the format. But I don't think they have like that much of an edge over other decks. They can certainly lose to everything in Championship tier. So you got to be, you got to play well, and you got to have a good run. Anyway, moving back to locals tier, I think Croc is a solid locals tier deck. Isho is bad. I think that's all I have to say about those. Odin is probably locals tier. I think, yeah, probably locals tier. I wouldn't really go further than that for basically anything green at the moment. And I think that's going to be true for like Kinemon. Croc is going to be here. Bad for King, probably. Whitebeard. Might have to put him in Championship. I don't know. Championship or Rogue? I think Rogue. It could be Championship, but I'm going to go with Rogue just because I think it really has a terrible time into some of the Championship decks, but I think it's very good. And in particular, I think it's not bad into Sakazuki. So, yeah, definitely a solid deck still. Garp is definitely in bad tier. What else we got? We got Sanji. I think that's got to be bad as well. Eva, definitely bad. Magellan, I'm going to say... oh, that's Zephyr. Zephyr, I'm going to say probably locals tier. Very, very meme-worthy, but no, it's bad. I'm coping. It's bad. Magellan, definitely solid locals tier. Maybe Rogue. No, actually, Purple. Yeah, Rogue. Yeah, Magellan's decent. Smoker, I'd say locals tier. Ace, I would put in Rogue. Rogue to Championship tier. I think it's pretty good. I'd put it near the top of Rogue. Kuro, it's definitely bad. I'm only going to stop and discuss like the ones that actually matter. Arlong is bad. Actually, Kuro, I'm going to demote to don't. No, actually, it's got some decent cards. Okay. Iceberg is definitely in don't, though. Black Yellow Big Mom is definitely in bad tier. Nami, I would put a solid Rogue tier deck. Lucci, I would say... probably put it in locals tier. It's not great. Okay, we've got another bad here in Uta, but now we can start talking about some of the very interesting ones. Championship, Karakuri. This deck's really good. You know, like, so here's the thing with Karakuri. The deck is good, and I've always been very outspoken about the fact that I hate this deck. The reason I hate this deck is because it's good, but like it's a casino, right? You sit down and you're just going, okay, if I trigger, I'm just gonna win. If I chain back-to-back 10 mums, I'm just gonna win. Like, you don't have the consistency to make that happen like all the time. Sorry, I really that. Yeah, I just, it's a deck that's really, like, it's what it does fundamentally. It's just really, really good, right? Like, you play a big thing, you swing 7. You play a big thing, you swing 7, right? Like, swing 7 first. It's fundamentally good, but like, I think it is the statistically worst performing deck in the game because, like, so many people play it and it puts up such a pathetic number of tops relative to its meta share consistently that you're just like, why would you ever play this deck? But it's not bad, and it's a deck I kind of usually give to, it's sort of like Whitebeard. Like, I think it's very similar to Whitebeard, where you can just hand this deck to someone and they're probably going to do fine with it. They're probably going to win. Because fundamentally the power floor of the deck is very, very high. But equally, like, outside of certain matchups, there is almost no skill involved in piloting those decks beyond a certain level, right? You get to a certain tier and then you're fine. The Whitebeard mirror is highly skill intensive, basically, but outside of that, right? Like, you do what your deck does, and what your deck does is really good, and it does it really consistently, right? Same with Katakuri, though significantly less consistent than Whitebeard. And it also just fundamentally takes a hard L to a lot of the top decks, though it can beat Sakazuki quite well, which is again why I think that, you know, saying it's a tier 0 format is just asinine, which some people seem to be saying. Continuing onwards, Zoro, solid Nationals tier. I think Zoro is really, really good. I think it's the best red deck next format. I think it's well, outside of red green law. I think it's very, very slept on. Let's go ahead and chuck. Where is he? Here. Red purple Luffy. This deck is really, really good. I think it's being super slept on, honestly, in terms of meta share. I think it's very, very, very powerful. And yeah, it's weird that people aren't, like, respecting it as much as they should. What else have we got? Pluffy, of course, we got to put up in Nationals tier. This deck's crazy. Same with Enel, though I think Enel is the... Oh, that's red green. RP law as well, but also Enel. For some reason, it always, like, it does this good glitch on my monitor where, like, it just... whenever I'm recording videos, so I can't exactly see everything, but... yeah, so I think that is definitely pretty fair for those Nationals tier decks. So Enel is obviously just insanely annoying. It's like a cockroach, like, it just will like not die, and you can just keep up, like, high roll triggering or, like, playing out these big bodies that heal you or that are, like, really annoying to remove, and you just overwhelm your opponent by just refusing to die, essentially. Whereas, and then you got decks like RP Law and RP Luffy, which, like, Luffy is just chaining, like, Whitebeards together and, like, just playing, like, insane top end and then just 10 Luffying to, like, win the game. Gear 5 Luffying, whereas RP Law is playing this, like, control strategy, and it's really, really quite good. I think it's underrated. And then Pluffy is just, like, playing high value, like, big things. Turns out that's quite good. And it can beat basically everything. So yeah, it's really, really good. Final deck I think I'm going to put in Nationals tier is going to be Bello Betty. And I think this is absolutely being super slept on. Turns out aggro decks are kind of good into later game control decks that don't necessarily do, like, the most in the early game. I think you're, like, into Pluffy, into Saka, it's really, really scary. Like, obviously if Saka opens, like, you know, Sakaluchi, then fine, but, like, if it doesn't, like, it's nuts. Yeah, I don't know. I think Bello Betty is very, very, very good. So this is what I would say, like, a Nationals tier up. These are all very, very competitive decks. And then Rogue is something I could see doing well. GP Doffy, I think, also can go into to Rogue tier. I think it's decent. Queen's in locals tier, bro. I don't think Queen... I think it cooks in set 6, but not now. Rebecca's definitely Nationals tier, but the problem is it has an abysmal matchup into Saka. And Saka is just everywhere, so, like, I wouldn't take it, but it's a really, really powerful deck. I'm going to put it at the bottom of Nationals because it is insanely good, but just really, really bad performance into the format at the moment. Red Green Luffy is locals tier, carried by its colours. What else we got here? Doffy? No, sorry, not Doffy. Yeah, Rocinante. I'd say it's Rogue. I think it's decent. I think you can chef. You can do some culinary activities. Let's just chuck a bunch of ones in bad. Bad. Sabo is bad. Kid is locals. Vivi is locals. Black Luffy is locals. Blue Croc is... I think it's just worse. It's just worse Sakazuki. Like, you would never play Blue Croc now that Sakazuki's available. So it's just in locals. Yamato, locals. Locals. Film Shanks, I'm going to put in bad. And then Red Luffy, I would say locals. Green Kid, I would say top of locals, nearabouts. Fundamentally, it's good. And Bubble Kaido, I would put in Rogue tier. Okay, there we go. So that is my tier list. So obviously the ones to pay attention to is like Rogue and up, but like mainly Nationals and BDIF. We'll see if I am proved right. I'm going to do a recap video where I go over my previous sets analysis and like what actually topped. But spoiler alert, I don't think I've been wrong so far. So yeah, pay attention to these decks. Get testing them. In particular, like learn your Saka and your Law matchups. You do not have to play those two decks. I'm going to because I'm like a massive Navy simp, like a black simp. Like the second I saw like this leader, I knew I was going to play it even before we saw Lucci, before we saw how good it was going to be. So I was always, like, the fact it's basically, in my opinion, the best deck in the format is just a bonus, but I was going to play it anyway. Obviously, there's Law as well, right? Like, there's old favorites. But everything in that Nationals tier can very much compete. In particular, I'm going to highlight this Luffy as one which is pretty hard for Saka to deal with. This is what I would probably play if I knew I was going into a field of, like, 80% Sakazuki or something. Like, I would probably pick this. Or I would pick Kata. I think both of those are pretty annoying matchups for Saka to deal with. Or I'd pick Bello Betty. It'd be one of these three. But I think definitely the closest to them in terms of power level is Pluffy. I would say then probably like these in this order, and this would go there, I think. Put this here. And I would say, yeah, I definitely think NL's the worst in this top tier. I really don't think NL's... I don't rate NL, but I think it's a cockroach deck that is a gatekeeper. But there we go. All right, that's it. I hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, please like it, subscribe to the channel if you're seeing this on YouTube, and check out my Patreon for content like this early. Over on my Patreon, as of the time you're seeing this, there is definitely going to be the whole set review. I'm not sure if it'll be up on YouTube by the time you see this. It might be up first. If it is, please check it out. If it isn't, check out the Patreon or subscribe to stay tuned. That's it. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Cheers.